Yo, yo, yo. Mic check, mic check. Okay, we're good, we're good, we're good. How's it going, Screw? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope your day's been going good so far. Whew. I opened some of the AC vents in my house and it's a little bit chilly today, but we'll get through it. What's up now, Mick? What's up, Chief? I feel like I haven't gotten a response from Chief in a while. Like I say hi, I don't even hear a hi back. Hopefully you're good, man. Let's see. We've got test and cancel this. Good, good, good. Well, I'm doing good. How are you? That's what I want to know is how you're doing. I'm doing good, man. Thank you. Thank you for asking. Need to know that you're out here still kicking. Do you think you'll come back for Fate of Edge, or is that on the table? Is that not on the table? I'm gonna guess that Fate of Edge is the new expansion in Destiny. Would I play it? Yes, there's a chance that I would play it, but whether I'm gonna stream it, probably no chance that I'm gonna stream it. Counting my blessings. That's good, man. That's good. That's good. That's good. I'm happy to hear that, man. I wish I could make my background a little bit darker to fit the theme of the starting soon screen. It is what it is, though. It is what it is. I feel like my room could be darker. I would just have to do a little bit more work to be able to make that work. Okay. Today's stream is going to be very interesting because today's stream is focused on something that we already spoke about on the channel, which makes it even more because we watched like even parts of a movie about it and stuff like that. But pretty much we have the Noah story from the Bible, and that's what we're gonna be looking at today. Now, I had so many things that I had lined up to do today, and unfortunately I'm not as prepared as I want to be for this, but I pray that God will guide me into still bringing, whatever I end up choosing for us to use to get an understanding of this. I hope I get that because I'm looking for something with like pictures. I'm looking for something with like pictures and reading. Like if we just have to watch something, that's okay too. But I'm looking for something that we can actually like something we can participate in together, basically. Wow, this is actually very detailed, but I can't read this right now. I just got something that looks kind of nice, but it's not gonna Okay, I'm just gonna look at some of the things with a lot of views. I'm gonna start from there. How many minutes is this? 39 minutes. I think we're gonna watch this. Hopefully it has because I think if we read the book, if we read Genesis about it, I feel like it might be a little bit long. But maybe that's what we're gonna have to try to do, man. Because I doubt I'm gonna actually find something that we're gonna find something that's actually like detailed like the way that I want it to, that I like what I want to share. And then I'm also late to the stream today too, which I'm very, very sad about, but I just didn't manage my time properly. I apologize for showing up late. This one's from 6 years ago. I'm thinking we just gonna go into the Bible instead, man. Okay, maybe we're gonna watch this. This look like my kind of stuff. This look like my kind of stuff right here. Let's try this. Let's try this. All right. So, like I said before, today's Bible story is going to be on the story of Noah. 2 weeks ago, we did Samson. A week ago, we did Adam and Eve. Today, we're going to be looking into the story of Noah. Obviously, all of these are from the biblical perspective, because that's how we know who these people are to begin with. And, you know, I think for me, more than anything, it gives a chance for people to be able to learn a little bit about these events. Let's see. So we've got, so this video right here, I think it's one from like 7 years ago. So seems like it should be a good one. I feel like anything pre AI probably a good bet for what I'm looking for. So let's see. I want to make sure my volumes are adjusted properly. Okay.
He came into the world just as every other baby had, born to an anxious and anticipating family, born into a world that would be filled with struggles. He was nurtured by his mother, cared for by his father, and considered as a source of joy and hope. His father Lamech called his name Noah, saying he will comfort us.
I don't even think a lot of people know what Noah's dad's name was. So I guess that's a good, cool, interesting fact to know about. I think I'm also gonna pull up my Bible on the side here so that any references that are being made, if I want to read something that comes to my mind, I can always do that. So we're already at Genesis 5. Well, Genesis 1, 2, and 3, we read like different parts of that talked about Adam and Eve, creation story, all of that. So it aligns that it's going to be Genesis 5 that we're going to be looking at. Okay. So it says,
concerning our work and the toil of our hands. In any life.
Interesting. I don't even remember that verse. So Lamech lived 182 years and became the father of a son. Now he called his name Noah, just okay. I think I'm just gonna put this on the screen so everybody could have a little bit of context here. So this Genesis chapter 5 is basically talking about the genealogy of Adam. So Adam's child Adam gave birth to Seth gave birth to Enosh gave birth to, so they basically take us down a line of ancestry of people. And then Colossal, bruh, is that my brother from another mother? I think that's you. I finally joined you, man, in this space doing this. Gotta share this gospel no matter what. I think that's who I think it is. What's the name? What's your gamer tag again? Bruh, there's no way I'm letting myself down like this right now. But anyways, just not to get too distracted from the video. What's up, man? Hey, welcome, man. Thank you for checking out the stream today. Why can't I remember? Give me the name I know you by. No, is it was there's something more. I called you 95. What's the full gamer tag? Because I feel like I even know your first name, but we don't need to be talking about that here. I feel like it's your first name that I might not remember. What's up, Kiani? I remember the 95. I need to remember properly. Because like I know you, I can even see your face, bruh. The cheeks and all. But I want to know what's up, Unorthodox. I need to know how I remember you, but sorry I'm getting derailed. This is a friend of mine that, I haven't spoken to in some time. Aha, that's it. Thank you. Of 95. Yeah, you were speaking in tongues before you even became Christian. Oh my goodness. All right. Let's get back on track. So I was just trying to follow up on how the reason why they're talking about Noah. So like we read last week about the story of Adam and Eve. Adam had 2 children. One of the children he had later on was Seth, and they're talking about the line of Adam. So there was Adam, there was Seth, there was Enosh, Canaan, and that's how we arrived at Lamech, the father of Noah. But before we get into that, there's something I wanted to point out, actually, for those Christians amongst us, because some people might not know this. Well, not just for Christians, anybody. It's information. It's good to know. You're chilling, trying to survive each day. That's what's up, man. Hey, I'm happy to hear that, bro. Today, we're delving into the story of Noah, and I'm trying to give as much insight into it as possible, because don't read all of this. This is hard genealogy stuff in the Bible is hard to read. Like, even just reading alone, like just to read it's a lot of numbers. But the main thing I wanted you guys to see is when it came to this particular person called Enoch, they said he lived for 65 years. He became the father of Methuselah. Then, so basically he had a kid after 65 years. And then Enoch walked with God 300 years after he became the father of Methuselah. So basically 300 years plus 365. So he was about 365 in total at this point. And he had other sons and daughters. All the days of Enoch were 365 years. Enoch walked with God and he was not, for God took him. It's very interesting because there's only a few people in the Bible who didn't actually die, and Enoch is one of them. So just little side note for you guys, that there was someone else in the Bible who just didn't die. There's 3 of them: Enoch, Elijah, and Jesus. Those 3 people just stopped being, and that's all we knew about them. But now, going back to Noah, Lamech's son, that's the person that we're talking today. So they give you a little bit of history, so that they don't just introduce Noah and you're just like, okay, new character we're just reading about. There's a reason why Noah is important, is because well, everybody is directly from the line of Adam, but they show exactly the line, exactly whose father was who up until they got to Noah. And Noah had 3 kids. So we could go back to the video.
Life story or biography, the major events, accomplishments, and struggles.
What's up,
are the
Mario?
focus. And from these accounts, we learn about a person's character and their perseverance. Yet from even the everyday details or passing references, we can learn much.
So he's pointing out that in this verse, it also talks about who Noah was. So we can have an idea of his person, right? Not just his dad. So it says Lamech, this is the verse he read. Now he called his name Noah, saying, this one will give us rest from our work and from the toil of our hands, arising from the ground which the Lord has cursed. If you guys remember when we're looking at the story of Adam and Eve, at the end of it, when they were disobedient, God cursed Adam, Eve, and he cursed the serpent as well. So when Lamech is talking about this, he's referring to that. So he's saying that this one will give us rest from our work and from the toil of our hands, arising from the ground which the Lord has cursed. So, a little bit of context there.
Much about a person's attitude, personality, and influence. For Noah, it was the wickedness of the world in his generation that would define the attitudes and actions of his life. The earth was corrupt before God, was filled with violence. As a result of this environment, a call to action came to Noah at the apex of his life, and it came directly from God. Make yourself an ark. This is a short directive.
So we've had this question before, and I do this where I pause the video when I have something to say. Sometimes I play it for a while. But we had this conversation earlier when we were talking about, like, how could it have been, like, why didn't people run to the ark? Why is this not possible? Why is this possible? Stuff like that. Some of these, you will be able to get some of those answers today. Because if you see in my title on Twitch and on YouTube as well, you notice that I said on my title that God was sorry. We're going to get to that at some point here, I believe. But I want to show you guys what it's talking about. Overdose says, I got a boat in the make. I got a boat in the makes in case this happens again. Well, you don't have to be worried about if this is going to happen again. So just to give some context, right? So says, now it came about when man began to multiply on the face of the land, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves, whomever they chose. Then the Lord said, my spirit shall not strive with man forever, because he also is flesh. Nevertheless, his days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards. You might not know what Nephilim is, but I'll say look it up. It's not what we're focusing on today, but look it up if you're interested. Interesting group of people. And also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them, those were the mighty men who were old men of renown. Then the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great on the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was evil continually. Again, when we talk about like the earth and people and human beings, when we have these conversations about, like, and I say to people, of course, you feel like stealing is what you want to do. You feel like cursing someone out is something you want to do. It feels natural to you. This is part of why I'm like, of course you feel that way. Of course I feel that way. Just in case there's confusion. This is why I also feel that way sometimes. But because it's always been like that. It's not anything that's new. And this is the statement right here. It says, the Lord was sorry that he had made man on earth, and he was grieved in his heart. Then the Lord said, I will blot out man whom I have created from the face of the land, from man to animals, creeping things, and to the birds of the sky. For I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. So the only reason why Noah didn't get swept along everybody that was there probably has to do with, you remember that Enoch person that God took and didn't just die? Well, his maybe great grandfather, his great grandson is Noah. Because even Enoch's kid, if I go back, I don't want to get out of it too much, but I want to stay on Noah's story. But Enoch, the person who was taken, his son was the one that lived the longest ever. He lived 969 years, I believe, before he died. So there was already some kind of like, there was a path that was already going on prior to this. So it can make sense how you could say Noah found favor in the eyes of God out of even before even his own actions. You know, the actions of his ancestors could have spoken for him as well. And I say could have because I'm not trying to add anything to it, but this is the reason why. So this is the reason for the flood. Let me go back. So the reason for the flood is because this was a time where there wasn't even, now we could even still talk about the fact that some people have good in their heart. Some people are trying to do good. This one, at this time, it was only evil. That was all they were thinking about. Stealing, cheating, lying, anything evil. That's all they were thinking of. They weren't thinking about no good thing. Everybody just hurting each other. Everybody doing nasty things to each other. That's all it was back then. Lost everything. And that was the reason why God said, I will blot out man whom I have created from the face of the land, from man to animals to creeping things and to birds of the sky, for I'm sorry that I have made them. Because they've already jumped to the fact where he told Noah to build the ark. But I wanted you to know why he's building the ark. It's because Noah found favor in the eyes of God. And it says, these are the records of the generations of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, which... saying that a man is righteous is saying a lot, but blameless in his time. Noah walked with God. So just like Enoch, the person we read where it says that he walked with God, Noah also walked with God, and that's the reason why Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord, even outside of all the stuff that could have come in before that as a result of his ancestors. And now the earth was corrupt in the sight of God, and the earth was filled with violence. God looked on the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way upon the earth. Then God said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence because of them, and behold, I am about to destroy them with the earth. And then he said, make yourself an ark of gopher wood. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And then he goes on to describe exactly how he should build the ark. So who was it that was saying earlier that they're making a boat in case something like this happens? Well, how are you going to know what specifications you're supposed to build that boat for? Because Noah, the only reason he survived is because God told him what the dimensions are supposed to be.
It seems simple, but it would consume Noah's time and energy as he moved with godly fear to prepare an ark for the saving of his family. But this isn't where the story really begins, nor is even Noah's birth a proper place to start. First, we have to consider how the world had fallen into such awful conditions. The entrance of sin into the world by Adam and Eve was both regretted and remembered by the first couple. The Garden of Eden was a place of lush existence. It abounded with every tree that was pleasing to the sight and good for food. But having sinned against God, both husband and wife
look at
were
us.
sent out.
We know
from
what
the
all of
garden.
this is about.
They would continue
Even
their
without,
life facing the toils and struggles
even before this.
that had previously been unknown to them. One of the many reminders of their sin was the pain Eve would experience in childbirth. As
Yep.
God had pronounced, in pain you shall bring forth children. Through the pain, Eve would safely bring two sons into the world, Cain and Abel. Now the struggle of parenting would begin and bring with it new challenges. Cain, the firstborn, would grow to be a farmer, bringing forth harvests from the earth. Abel, his younger brother, would grow to become a shepherd and a keeper of flocks. While we're not told how old the two sons were, at some age of accountability, each son brought his offering in worship to God. Abel's offering of the firstborn of his flock was pleasing and respected by God. Cain's offering, though, was not in obedience to God's will, and God did not respect it. Cain's response was to become very angry and jealous. God placed before Cain encouragement to choose the good path. God told him plainly, "If you do well, will you not be accepted?"
You know, we also read something about good in John. Well, because that's what our Bible, I know there's a lot of things we're covering, but God help us. In John, which is the Bible readings we're doing right now, Mondays and Fridays, in chapter 6, I believe, 6 or 629 or 529, he talks about doing good and what that leads to. It's interesting how now in this time, this is Genesis, in the beginning of the world, when God does not accept Cain's sacrifice, he also tells Cain, if you do well, as if knowing what to do, knowing what the right thing to do is something that he should have already known. Now, whether it is God that told him personally, we don't know, but he basically should have known what doing well is and what not doing well is, and he was able to choose. I mean, I guess also when we think about the way the Adam and Eve story goes, it says they ate from the tree of good and evil, so that means they knew good and evil now, which means they taught their children. So actually it makes sense that he would know what it is to do good and what it is to not do good, and he chose to not do good as well, which is so unfortunate, because seems like a consistent pattern here where there's always a choice, and it seems like man from the beginning of time always made the wrong one.
But rearing its ugly head, sin offered its evil temptations to mankind, and we see the young farmer Cain choose to maintain his attitude of jealousy and rage toward his younger brother. Then, willfully acting on these sinful desires, Cain rose up and killed Abel, committing the world's first murder. For this evil deed, Cain was banished, driven by the Lord away from his family, to live as a fugitive.
You know, it also, one other thing that just occurred to me here as well is the fact that one small, what we call very big quote, small sin led to the bigger sin, in that at first all he did was he didn't present a sacrifice that he knew was befitting for God. That was what he did, which you could say it's disobedience or dishonoring, right? That's where it is. And that small like attitude, that small thing festered into the kind of anger and rage that now led him to kill his own brother. It's just a reminder of, like, you know, when we talk about like small, like, you know, I'm not a bad guy. I'm not, I try as much as I can to do good things. It's just in this same vein, it's like the small things still have big implications, whether you try to do different things otherwise or not. The small things still have their implications.
And a wanderer. Adam and Eve were now left without sons, one murdered and the other living with the consequences of his choices. So Adam and Eve did what was necessary to continue with their lives, having faith in God's loving care and plan. In time, Adam and Eve had other sons and daughters, including their third son, Seth, who God had
Which
appointed
we just read
as
about.
another seed in Abel's stead.
Actually,
Through Seth's life and lineage, the rapidly growing family of
didn't bring this
mankind
back.
began to
Sorry.
call on the name of the Lord. Seth's godly example can be seen extending to the seventh generation from Adam, where we find the patriarch Enoch, who has been renowned in history as having faithfully walked with God. His righteous life so impressed the Creator that God ushered him from the earth without having to endure death. In the years that each of these generations were establishing their families, becoming parents to many sons and daughters, becoming uncles and aunts, grandparents, and even great-grandparents, there was another
this reminds me
major
of
branch
something
Adam
we
and
just
Eve's
watched
lineage
recently.
that contained a growing population of people doing much of the same day-to-day living. While we often focus on the descendants of Seth as being sons of God, the lineage
sons of Cain
also
were
provides
also-
a wealth of clues, both obvious and subtle, for understanding the cultural setting into which Noah would be born. Cain was not subjected to the penalty of death for having taken Abel's life. Rather, even in his banishment, God set a mark on him to warn off any in the future that might bring him harm. Therefore, Cain continued a protected life, but one that was subjected to daily struggles of survival. Cain settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden, where he lived and toiled. His struggling extended even to his own occupation of farming, where God had pronounced that his labors would no longer yield its strength to him. Over time, though, Cain would eventually marry, a descendant of Eve, and bear a son. As their family continued, Cain built a city and named it Enoch after his firstborn son. Cain's lineage multiplied throughout many generations of
That's also
children,
interesting that he
grandchildren,
also
and
had someone he
great-grandchildren.
named Enoch in
The
his own
generations of
lineage.
Cain's lineage proved industrious. In the seventh generation of Cain, 3 men are noted for their abilities for work and ingenuity. Jabal was a father of all those who lived nomadically in tents and maintained herds of livestock. His brother Jubal was noted for his creative abilities, being described as the father of all those.
Yo, this
who
guy's given a
played the
lot
harp
of like
and the
historical
flute.
account, and I know
A third brother, Tubal-Cain, was industrious
stuff like this is
in the
tough for
production
other
of
people to
bronze and iron
follow through. Let me
implements.
see how long this is.
And even the
39? Okay, I
training
could skip
of
forward a
skill
little bit.
encompassed a vast group of developing peoples. Originally, each began with very different value systems. Cain's descendants multiplied.
Because we already
and
read about the
demonstrated
daughters
rebelliousness
of
toward their
man
heavenly
and the
Father.
sons of God.
Seth and his lineage embodied the value
Okay,
until
so this is where we
every
are.
intent of the thoughts of their hearts were only evil.
Yeah, because we read this
Continually.
before.
Years after the faithfulness of Enoch had been rewarded, his great-grandson Noah was born into
Oh,
this
so I was right about
struggling
great-grandson.
and morally unraveling world. Guided by his mother and his father,
I thought the
Noah
Bible had
grew
missed
up
one generation.
facing all the same temptations that every other young man his age was experiencing. It's reasonable to consider that Noah had every opportunity to choose a life of corruption and violence, of selfishness, personal gain, or rebellion. The opportunities were even more multiplied when we consider that at this time in history, men and women lived much longer lives, even centuries. Noah's grandfather, Methuselah, holds the distinction of being the oldest recorded man to have ever lived.
Bro, now I feel like I ruined this guy's story because I skipped ahead. But how am I
Yet
supposed to know he
despite
talked
the
about it?
enormous temptations of a corrupt and pleasure-seeking world, Noah chose the straight way in obedience to God. Was Noah sinless in his actions or choices? By no means. As every man that had ever lived, Noah also sinned and fell short of God's glory. But was Noah able to stand before any man, any judge, any court, and in the face of his accusers, be without blame and above reproach? Absolutely. Noah was a man of integrity, who was fair and just in his dealings with anyone. The overall character of Noah's life is recorded and described as one who walked with God. However, God, when looking down on the rest of the earth, was appalled at what he saw, disgusted with the abuse of the free will he had so lovingly granted to his creation. Inspired history records a welling up of regret that the faithful Creator felt for the direction his creation had chosen in their lives. Be without blame and above reproach, God proclaimed a verdict of guilt upon all those who had disobeyed his teachings.
And God said to Noah, "The end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth."
Such a sentence of totality could only be made by the one who was responsible for it all. Would God continue to see sinful man ravage each other and degrade?
I want to try a different video.
The thoughts and desires of
humanity.
mankind were continually
'Cause
evil, and
I
violence
I want these videos to be something that people can
These
can
values,
understand easily.
God's answer.
Because me, I have interest in this, and it's easier for me to be able to follow stuff like this. But I want it to be something that everybody is able to follow and just listen to it. Like, let me be the one giving the extra details, not them. That's what I'm looking for. Let's see if we can get that from this video instead.
dominated human relationships. Corruption had infiltrated the hearts of humanity so deeply that God himself regretted having created man. In the midst of this desolate scenario, only one man managed to maintain his integrity and walk in the ways of the Lord. Noah found favor in the eyes of God, standing out as a beacon of hope in a corrupted generation. As written in Genesis 6 verses 13 to 22, God revealed his plan for judgment to Noah. "The end of all flesh has come before me," said the Lord, "for the earth is filled with violence because of men." But along with the announcement of judgment came an extraordinary mission: the construction of an ark that would save not only Noah's family, but also representatives of all animal species. It was an unprecedented task, a project that would require unwavering faith and absolute dedication. The instructions for the construction...
Because, man, see, and that's why I said I want to be the one to interrupt these, because there's one thing that I feel like I don't speak about when I'm talking about these stories specifically. It's the fact that we were talking yesterday about someone challenging an atheist to surrender to God and just try it, just to see if, see what happens. Just try it, just actually truly surrender. And we know how that conversation went. If you want to see that, you can look into yesterday's video. But the idea that God told Noah, build this specific ark. Noah had every reason to just be like, maybe actually I'm not going to make a wooden one. Maybe I'll make one out of metal. Or actually, maybe I'll make a small boat just for my family. I don't need a bigger boat. He had the reasons to even be like, actually, no, I need to fend for my family. Like, I got a job, things that I got to do. I don't have time to be building an ark all this time. Like, the fact that Noah actually said, okay, I'll do it. I don't think a lot of people, including myself, look at that and look at the faith that's involved there. I mean, in Hebrews, it talks about it, but it takes a lot of faith. It takes a lot of belief for him to decide, oh yeah, this thing this being that has told me to do this thing, I'm actually going to follow through with it. I'm actually going to every day wake up every morning and work on this ark and make sure that all the dimensions are exactly what I've been instructed to do. And I know someone could be like, well, God told him, like, of course he's gonna do it. On the reverse of that is, yeah, but do you know how God told him? Because it could have been a dream, it could have been a voice, it could have been a writing in the sand. Not a lot of people today will see a writing in the sand and actually follow through with it every day. So it's not just how he receives, not just that, oh yeah, if God told you, you'll do it too. People still don't do it, even if they have signs, even if they have a message, I should say.
Were precise and detailed, demonstrating divine care and wisdom in every specification. The ark was to be made of cypress wood, a divine choice that would ensure durability and strength. Its dimensions were monumental: 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. Approximately 135 meters long, 22.5 meters wide, and 13.5 meters high. The project also included 3 decks, a roof, and a side door, all designed to house the precious cargo that would ensure the continuation of life on Earth. In Genesis 6, verse 14, God commanded.
If writing started appearing in the sand, it would probably become a TikTok trend to follow it. To follow the writing. Like whatever was written in the sand. Oh yeah. And you best believe that. So again, jokes aside, right? Like, that's it. If you hear anything, it doesn't, like, I feel like that would be the common response though, is, well, God told him to do it, so of course he heard. If God told me to do it, I'll do it too. That couldn't be farther from the truth.
Commanded that the ark be coated with pitch inside and out. This material, similar to tar, would be essential for sealing the structure, protecting its occupants during the impending flood. Every detail of the construction had a specific purpose, revealing the precision of divine planning.
I think it might do us a little bit of good to read some of the details of how the ark was to be made. Because, you know, we always try to talk, I always like to talk about the fact that some people can read the Bible and think it must have been some conspiracy theory. And considering how old the Bible is, the amount of information that they have of how this ark would have been built all the way back then, the talent and the knowledge, the foreknowledge to know this, for an ark of this size, this is what would have had to be put into it. Imagine just like saying, for example, someone from 2,000 years ago telling you how you would make a phone. How impossible is it that they could have predicted properly the kind of tools for a phone 2,000 years ago, when they literally are sending themselves letters back then to be able to communicate? And then someone's telling you details of how to make a phone in a way that's like, and it's detailed and it works. Like, when you use those kind of specifications, it works. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not just saying, how did somebody 5,000 years ago make a boat? No, I'm saying, how did someone 5,000 years ago make a boat that could survive a worldwide flood? Or let's not even talk about making it. How did they write up that this is how the boat would be made? Even if it was fake, how did they have that knowledge? I know it's not fake, but for it to be fake, that person would have had to have the knowledge of being able to build that boat so long ago, and it just doesn't make sense. I'm gonna look at if I could show you guys a little bit of the description of the boat. I'll keep playing the video while I
The
look
building
for it.
required not only technical skill, but also unwavering faith. For until
Yeah,
that
that's
time,
what I was just talking
humanity
about.
had never witnessed rain capable of covering the entire earth.
Until that time, even after that time, I think if people tried to build an ark that could survive a flood today, with all the knowledge we have today, if that flood actually came, I think that boat will capsize. Well, I guess probably not, because they have the specifications of Noah's Ark, but you get my point. Like, if they chose to build something totally different, is what I'm trying to say, that ark would probably still capsize.
As reported in Hebrews 11 verse 7, Noah, moved by holy fear, began carrying out the divine project. While the people around him continued their lives as usual, eating, drinking, and marrying, as mentioned in Matthew 24 verse 38, he dedicated every available moment to building the ark.
Yeah,
The work
that's what
was
I'm talking
hard.
about. This man, whatever he was doing before this point, he stopped it to go work on this ark. Literally.
And constant,
Crazy.
demanding not only physical effort but also extraordinary emotional resilience. Day by day, he faced disbelief and possibly mockery from his contemporaries, who could not comprehend the magnitude of what was to come. The construction of the ark became a living testimony of Noah's faith. Each plank nailed, every measurement checked, each layer of pitch applied, was a silent declaration of his trust in the Lord's words. Peter, in his second epistle, chapter 2, verse 5, refers to Noah as a preacher of righteousness, suggesting that while he built, he also warned his contemporaries about the coming judgment. His work was not merely a physical structure, but a pulpit from which he proclaimed the message of repentance. The building process was long and meticulous. The divine specifications demanded absolute precision, and Noah followed each instruction with tireless dedication. The cypress wood needed to be cut to exact measurements, treated properly, and positioned carefully to ensure the stability of the structure.
Some of this information that this person is adding into this, I don't know about some of this, because they're saying some things here. They're saying some things here that are not from the Bible. Oh, I don't know it in the Bible anyways.
The coating with pitch required painstaking work to ensure that every inch of the ark was properly protected against the waters that would come. Day after day, the project took shape. The walls rose impressively, the decks were established according to divine specifications, and gradually the ark transformed into a majestic structure, a visible testimony of one man's obedience to God's word. The construction continued for decades, an extraordinary demonstration of perseverance and dedication. At each stage of the process, Noah showed his faith through his actions, building not just a vessel, but a monument to
What is
divine
this
faithfulness.
video?
The internal organization of the ark also followed meticulous planning. The 3 decks had to be structured to adequately accommodate all future occupants. Compartments were built to store provisions, spaces were prepared for different types of animals, and areas were designated for Noah and his family. Every detail was thoughtfully planned in advance, following divine guidance to ensure survival during the flood. The completion of the ark would mark only the beginning of an even more challenging journey. Now, with the structure ready according to all divine specifications, Noah awaited further instructions from the Lord. The ark was prepared to receive its occupants, a safe refuge against the impending judgment. The time spent on its construction had been a period of preparation,
Bro,
not only physically.
what is going on with this video? I don't understand what some of these wow, I feel so unprepared for today's stream, and it makes me feel so bad, and I apologize, but they're saying a lot of stuff in this that's making me just feel like I should just read the text instead. Maybe that's what I'm just gonna do. Because I don't like the amount of embellishment that's going on in that thing. But we could talk about the story afterwards. We could talk about the story together. So God tells Noah, make it for yourself an ark of gopher wood. You shall make the ark with rooms, and shall cover it inside and out with pitch. So the type of wood to be used and what to cover it with to seal it is given. This is how you shall make it. The length of the ark 300 cubits, and the breadth 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. You shall make a window for the ark and finish it to a cubit from the top. So where in the ark that the door was supposed to be, and set the door of the ark in the side of it. You shall make it with lower, second, and third decks. Behold, I, even I, am bringing the flood of water upon the earth to destroy all flesh, in which is the breath of life from under heaven. Everything that is on the earth shall perish, but I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall enter the ark, you and your sons and your wife and your sons' wives with you. And of every living thing of all flesh you shall bring 2 of every kind into the ark. This is also another part that people get a little bit of, let's get some conversation, is if you think of how many animals are in the earth right now, and you try to figure out how you could bring all those animals on the ark, that doesn't add up to the dimensions that are given here. But one of the things that you can point out here is that it says every kind. Is not saying every single animal, it's saying every kind of those animals in this context. So that's something that a lot of people miss when they're trying to do that calculation. How are you doing, Fillmore? To keep them alive with you, they shall be male and female. Well, that would have been important for reproduction purposes, at least. Of the birds after their kind, and of the animals after their kind, of every creeping thing of the ground after its kind, 2 of every kind will come to you to keep them alive. So he didn't even have to go chase them. I mean, he had a lot of work to do on already building this. And as for you, take for yourself some of all food which is edible, and gather it to yourself, and it shall be for food for you and for them. That thus Noah did according to all that God had commanded him, so he did. What's interesting here actually is when it talks about plants, them taking food here, it doesn't talk about how they're going to be able to plant more food when they come out. Because if they took just enough to survive the flood, then which food did they plant afterwards to be able to, make more crops? But then again, I feel like I'm trying to think about it. I don't know that extensively on whether or not, seeds in the ground can get destroyed, if they could still reform and things like that. I'm not too sure on that, but that's something that I'm curious about here. Then the Lord said to Noah, enter the ark, you and all your household, for you alone I have seen to be righteous before me in this time. You shall take with you of every clean animal by 7s, a male and his female, and of the animals that are not clean 2, a male and his female. Also of the birds of the sky by 7s, male and female, to keep offsprings alive on the face of the earth. So making sure that it could still, so this is for, to be righteous before me. You shall take with you of every clean animal by 7s, a male and a female, and the animals that are not clean. Okay, so these are the ones he actually takes compared to the ones that God said would actually come into the ark. Got it. We need some readings from Revelation soon with all that's happening now in the Middle East. I don't think if I read Revelations, anybody will understand what I'm talking about. There's no chance. Really big baby steps right now. Baby steps right now. Because to understand anything about Revelations, there's so much stuff that you need to understand before you... Revelations will just be gibberish. I mean, some of the stuff I'm even saying right now, it's still gibberish to some people. So let alone talking about Revelations, because there's a lot of interpretation that's involved in Revelations, and the dude who wrote Revelations didn't know what was going on by his descriptions. Oh yeah. Now Noah was 600 years old when the flood of water came upon the earth. Then Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him entered the ark because of the water of the flood. I mean, I guess he already said who was going to make it on that ark. Again, we're asking the question earlier about why didn't everybody just get on, everybody that was close? Well, everybody else wasn't expecting a flood. Because like I said, the reason Noah built the ark wasn't because he saw that there was a lot of dark skies. If he was seeing dark skies, it would probably be too late. He was building the ark because he believed in what God said about the flood coming. So it says of clean animals and animals that are not clean, and birds and everything that creeps on the ground, the air went into the ark to Noah by twos, male and female, as God had commanded Noah. It came about after these 7 days that the water of the flood came upon the earth. So, oh wow, so it was 7 days after they got on the ark that the flood actually came. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, on the 17th day of the month, on the same day, all the fountains of the great deep burst open, and the floodgates of the sky were opened. This particular account right here, all the fountains of the great deep burst open, and the floodgates of the sky were opened. This is literally the only possibility of how the flood, a flood that would have covered the entire earth, could have started. And this was one of the things that I discussed during watching the video about the scientific proof of the flood, basically where science looks into these things that are written in the Bible to say, could this flood have happened the way that it says it happens in the Bible, according to, if we put it into science, like if we use science to fact check it. And this is one of the big things in there is, again, like I talked about, knowledge, right? For this person to know that a flood would have happened this way at that time, it's not like they did simulations on a computer or they had scuba diving tools to be able to go underneath go deep in the water to be able to check for stuff. There was no way to test these things accurately for them to give an accurate account like this. Let's move to verse 12. The rain fell upon the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. On the very same day, Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them, entered the ark, they and every beast after its kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth after its kind, and every bird after its kind, all sorts of birds. So they went into the ark of Noah by twos of all flesh, in which was the breath of life. Those that entered, male and female of all flesh, entered as God had commanded him, and the Lord closed it behind him. This is the way this is reading. I want to make sure it's not confusing anybody, because this account here is describing what happened before the flood started. So the Lord closed it behind him happened before the flood actually happened, because since the rain fell for 40 days and 40 nights, this is not after all of that has happened. And the flood came upon the earth for 40 days, and the water increased and lifted up the ark so that it rose above the earth. So it's like a little segue in here, giving account exactly of who was in the ark. The water prevailed and increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark floated on the surface of the water. The water prevailed more and more upon the earth, so that all the high mountains everywhere under the heavens were covered. Let me actually turn on the music. Okay, where were we? Okay. The water prevailed 15 cubits higher, and the mountains were covered. All flesh that moved on the earth perished, birds and cattle and beasts and every swarming thing that swarms upon the earth, and all mankind of all that was on the dry land, all in whose nostrils was the breath of the spirit of life, died. Thus he blotted out every living thing that was upon the face of the land, from man to animals to creeping things and to birds of the sky, and they were blotted out from the earth. And only Noah was left, together with those that were with him in the ark. The water prevailed upon the earth 150 days. You know, I find that this is also, I feel like one of the questions that, well, if I didn't know the answer already, or I've asked at some point in my life, is like, why was everything destroyed? Like, okay, man sinned. Man was continuously sinning. Man was continuously evil. Why everything gotta get destroyed? From animals to birds, well, all that stuff gets caught. And for me, knowing, you know, what this symbolizes, just like when I think Overdose earlier was talking about how he was talking about how if this were to happen again, it's because it's a refresh that God was doing right here. Let's just start this over, and let's start this off the best way possible. That's the objective here. And that's why, when speaking of Revelations now, when the end time comes, everything is going to be a refresh again then, except for that time it's not let's give man a second chance, it's that's it, the end. It's eternal life or eternal death that's coming after that. But there's a reason why everything had to go here. It's because of the idea of that refresh, of that reset, of that new beginning, of that let's end everything that's going on right now and let's start over properly kind of thing. So before, when I didn't know that, it just felt weird that, like, if men were doing stuff, why didn't all the men just get one deadly disease that doesn't have to mess with like any of the actual people living on the earth, you know, leave any of the animals that are living on the earth at the time. But yeah. So chapter 8, but God remembered Noah and all the beasts and all the cattle that were with him in the ark, and God caused a wind to pass over the earth, and the water subsided. Also the fountains of the deep and the floodgates of the sky were closed, and the rain from the sky was restrained, and the water receded steadily from the earth, and at the end of 150 days the water decreased. This is another part of that's also interesting, because when it's talking about water receding into the earth, if it was one guy in Israel at the time who was just writing a story, because there was no planes back then for people to be traveling around the world to see how big the world is and things like that. But the fact that, you know, for this kind of flood, for there to be water in, like, I think it talks about the earth being like 70% water. I mean, someone could have made an educated guess to think that, okay, maybe there's enough water like this everywhere in the world. But there's also reason to believe that it's not. Again, for me, it's about the consistency, not just about one event making sense or one event being right. It's about it consistently making sense. And it says, and the water receded steadily from the earth, and at the end of 150 days the water decreased. In the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, the ark rested upon the mountains of Ararat. The water decreased steadily until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, the tops of the mountains became visible. Then it came about at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made, and he sent out a raven, and it flew here and there until the water was dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove from him to see if the water was abated from the face of the land. But the dove found no resting place for the sole of her foot, so she returned to him into the ark, for the water was on the surface of all the earth. I think it's interesting here because there was no instructions of like, oh, okay, so after the flood is done, this is how you're gonna be able to make sure that you're okay. It's just now Noah's using his own intuition to try to figure out like, yo, I know I can see mountains out there, but like, is it safe? Like, is this flood done? Is the water all the way, receded? Because again, if water covers the whole earth, why doesn't it just stay water the whole time? It's like you put water in a bowl. If you put water in a bowl and you leave it there, the water is just gonna stay there. It's already in the bowl. Why does it need to why would there ever be land anymore? Now it's just water that's everywhere. But I mean, we've seen that, it said already that the water receded into the earth is the reason why that happened. But it's just interesting because now this man stuck on the boat has no idea how he's gonna get out of that. So it says, and brought her into the ark to himself. So he awaited yet another 7 days, and again he sent out the dove from the ark. The dove came to him toward evening, and behold, in her beak was a freshly picked olive leaf. So Noah knew that the water was abated from the earth. Then he waited yet another 7 days, sent out the dove, but she did not return to him again. Hey, I guess he found some good stuff. So that's what I'm talking about in terms of like trees and how trees survive and plants survive through all these harsh conditions and things like that. Like, it seems like the flood, like trees are able to grow back even when through this flood. Like, they didn't need to pick up every kind of plant, which that's something I'm going to look at some point. It's just how much what occurs in that time when there's a flood and there's plants and stuff out there. How do they regenerate and reform? Now it came about in 601st year, in the 1st month, on the 1st of the month, the water was dried up from the earth. Then Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and behold, the surface of the ground was dried up. So this was 601st year. So if it was 40 days and 40 nights, I think there was some time after this. Oh wait, they gave exactly what time the flood happened. Now I'm curious. So it says in the 600th year on the so it was in the 2nd month on the 17th day of the month. That's when the flood started. And then this is at least 10 months gone now at this point, because now it's saying the 601st year in the 1st month. Yeah, so from the 2nd month, so literally 10 months when these people were on the ark. That's crazy. That's actually crazy. And I'm saying that just thinking about the food alone, how they're surviving with food on that ark for those amount of months. Crazy, man. Then God spoke to Noah, saying, go out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons' wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing of all flesh that is with you, birds and animals and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, that they may breed abundantly on the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth. So Noah went out, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him. Every beast, every creeping thing, and every bird, everything that moves on the earth went out by their families from the ark. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and took of every clean animal and of every clean bird, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. The Lord smelled the soothing aroma, and the Lord said to himself, it's interesting again, from reading the story of Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, and Cain giving an offering that God did not accept, to now coming here where it says the Lord smelled the soothing aroma of Noah's offering, and this is how he reacts to it. It's all very, it lines up basically. Says, I will never again curse the ground on account of man, for the intent of man's heart is evil from his youth, and I will never again destroy every living thing as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. So again, when I was talking about, I guess that's not gonna happen again. That's the reason why I said that. It says, and God blessed Noah and his sons, and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The fear of you and the terror of you will be on every beast of the earth, and on every bird of the sky, with everything that creeps on the ground, and of all the fish of the sea into your hand they are given. Every moving thing that is alive shall be for food. I give all to you as I gave the green plant. So again, we've spoken about how before a certain period there was people only eating plants. People and animals, the only thing God said they should eat was plants. And at this point, that's when things change for us to be out here eating chicken. Well, I wanted to say thank God for Noah, but at the same time, the reason why this happened is not something that's good. So it says, only you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is its blood. Surely I will require your lifeblood from every beast. I will require it, and from every man's brother, I will require the life of man. Oh my goodness. I need to send this. I need to send this to my wife, because we're having a conversation about this. Interesting stuff. All right, so whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed. For in the image of God he made man. As for you, be fruitful and multiply, populate the earth abundantly and multiply in it. Then God spoke to Noah and to his sons with him, saying, now behold, I myself do establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the cattle, and every beast of the earth with you, of all that comes out of the ark, even every beast of the earth. I establish my covenant with you, and all flesh shall never again be cut off by the water of the flood, neither shall there again be a flood to destroy the earth. God said, this is the sign of the covenant which I am making between me and you and every living creature that is with you for all successive generations. I set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a sign of a covenant between me and the earth. It shall come about when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow will be seen in the cloud, and I will remember my covenant which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and never again shall the water become a flood to destroy all the earth. Just for some clarification here, this is speaking on the fact that it's not that human beings are not still just as bad as people were before. except now whenever it rains and the rainbow is there, that's what we call it now, a rainbow. That's I mean, some of us use these terms, we don't even know where the term came from, but anyways, without getting misdirected too much, but that's what God sees, that he's not repeating the process again because of his promise. When the bow is in the cloud, then I will look upon it to remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. And God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. Now the sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from those who the whole earth was populated. That's another thing, like when people talk about about everybody coming from Adam and Eve, which is true, but there's also this part of everybody coming from Noah, his wife, and his three sons and their wives. There's also that part. There's that new layer that I feel like people see, like when you look at how everybody came about, it's usually just a triangle with or pyramid kind of look, just a pyramid coming from the top. But there's kind of like at the top of that pyramid, there's a small part, then starts it again, which, like I said, a lot of people don't really talk about that. So then Noah began farming and planted a vineyard. His name was Ham, yes. Then Noah began farming and planted a vineyard. He drank of the wine and became drunk, and uncovered himself inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders and walked backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Again, it's interesting how, like, it doesn't take long for man to keep doing the stuff that man that's really that like just innate, like, bad stuff is so inbuilt in us. It's crazy. This man goes back to his business. All of a sudden one day, okay, he's naked, his son is going in there. I mean, I wonder what the intent was, but it looks like anyways, let's keep on reading. It says they walked backwards and covered the nakedness of their father, and their faces were turned away so that they did not see their father's nakedness. Also, it could have been that it's not the guy's fault. He might have just walked in there, dad, and oh no, now he's seeing that. But when Noah woke from his wine, he knew that what his youngest son had done to him. And that's the thing, like, it makes it seem here intentional. That's the reason why I said it the way that I said it, because when he's saying he knew what he had done to him, that gives a sense of, like, he purposely went in there knowing that his dad was drunk and naked. So he said, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants, he shall be to his brothers." He also said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant." Noah lived 350 years after the flood, so all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. 950? He was close to Methuselah's age. The oldest man was 969. He lived for a long time. Is that it on Noah? Let's see. Let me check. Okay. So now these are the records of the generations of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth were Gomer and Magog and Madai and Javan and Tubal and Meshech and Tiras. Okay, I think this is a genealogy. I'm trying to see what we're reading here, because I don't want to bore you guys with names after names after names. This is a genealogy. This is a genealogy passage. I want to see if that's it on. Oh yeah, so that's it on Noah. Again, I wish I was able to watch, a video that properly just described the story so that people can see it and watch, you know, live action of it, see what actually happened to get a sense of it or what's being described here so that you have like a visual. But I think what's, you know, one of the key points that I noticed here is just the start of it all. You know, like I said in the title, God was sorry. That's how all of it started. God made man, man started to act funny. He was sorry that he created man because men just continuously did things that were evil. And then luckily for our, I guess, our existence, I say, or our lineage, there was that one man, Noah, who was actually blameless amongst men, or without blame, regardless of how you want to say it. I want to make sure I'm saying it the way it was said. Who God called on to build the ark, to be able to start his new plan up for creation. And when he called on him, he also responded, left what he was doing daily to be able to build this ark. And from there, God took over, you know, sealed them in the ark. There was the flood, destroyed everything, and they came out of it after 40 days and 40 nights. And it took almost a year, because 10 months ish, for all the flood to happen and for all the water to be able to recede back into the earth. And then God made a covenant with man, saying, I'm not going to let a situation like this happen again. I would remember my covenant with you so that I don't destroy you guys again, because you could already tell that God had the foresight that it's not like this the last time that human beings were going to do what they were doing, you know, but he wanted to have a different way to be able to get a reset. And, you know, that new reset came through Jesus, where now we have an opportunity to have salvation through Christ. So pretty neat story. Like I said before, sorry I was very late today, and I was also unprepared. I just thought it would be easier to find a video. Usually when I've thought about the videos in the past, I usually just come to stream and there's usually something that's in line with what I'm trying to talk about, but today that wasn't really the case. Tomorrow, Thursday, we're going to be watching some controversial videos. I don't know, I'm going to have to find a system of how I want to like get people to like share their not controversial videos, I shouldn't say that, but like hot takes, you know, where like, for example, because the way I would like for that to go is something like when Screw said like, oh, he saw some evidence that shows that there's proof that the flood didn't actually happen all over the world, and we'll look into it and look at research and look at what that actually means, if it's actually true, if that evidence is actually there, if there's an explanation for it, things like that. Or we'll watch videos of like the other video we watched the other time, where we watched a man who was a Christian who said this is the reason why he left Christianity, you know, things like that, where it's just like, it's not the usual, let's read the Bible, let's read a Bible story, let's hear a Christian's perspective. Let's hear the perspective of people who maybe have left the faith, people who don't believe in God, you know, things like that. And let's see what that perspective is like. That's what tomorrow is going to be for. I want you guys to also be a part of it. Like, I want you guys to also share some of these things that you want me to speak on. That's the goal. But for now, while we're still building, we're still growing, I'm just going to come up with a topic for tomorrow, come up with a video for tomorrow, and we'll all watch and share it together and see what our thoughts are. But for today, that's gonna be it for me. I had a good time today, and that's gonna be some of you guys might have noticed some of the changes with some of the things on the stream, because I moved around a few things in terms of like the way the font looks, the way the letters look, you know, the theme of the channel, because, you know, we used to have the whole no cheese thing. I haven't done any edits to the actual like Twitch not banners, but Twitch links and stuff on my about page. I haven't messed with that yet, but at least I went around. Even the starting soon screen today was a little different. I'm gonna switch to that and come back. But yeah, just try to do a few tweaks, get a new format going, so, you know, everything what we're doing actually matches what's on the screen and stuff like that. But I'm happy with how everything turned out. I even everything, or actually I haven't edited the font on that page, I don't think. Maybe I'll try to edit that one when I get off stream today. But it was fun reading through and watching. I mean, I wish I had a better video, but it was fun hanging out with you guys today. I'm gonna head out for the night. Thank you guys for chatting, for watching, for listening, and I hope you guys have a great evening. God bless you. Take it easy. Bye-bye.